hear the horror stories about what it's going to cost, and you just have no idea how you're going to get there.
Being part of the college funding coach, it really helps me relate the message to parents that no matter what your demographic, no matter what your situation, how many children you have, that you can fund college in various ways.
We've worked with all kinds of families over the years, from the single mother who says, I don't think that college is even a possibility, we can't afford it. And they look at the sticker price and say, you know, that's a lot of money, and single income, how are we going to do it? We were able to take a family like that and show her, the mother, how not only could she pay for college, but she could actually go to her son could go to a very prestigious out-of-state private school for less money than an in-state public school, simply because they took the time to understand the formula and took action.
I struggled to figure out how we were going to pay for braces, much less college. We had a very small account, and again, our idea of college funding was let's just have this account where we put money and then we don't touch it, in theory.
I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with parents where they just throw up their hands. Why even try? I give up. You know, it's impossible. And then a year later, you know, they're extremely happy and pleased and confident that they have a plan, it's working, it's all come together.
Parents who came to us and they were under a mountain of credit card debt, living paycheck to paycheck, a student going to school in the fall, staring at $30,000 a year tuition bill in the face. And when we got done, we were able to eliminate all their credit card debt, increase their cash flow, put them in a position that if they wanted to, they'd pay a significant portion. And when we were finished, the mother was crying and kind of walked over and gave me a hug. And I always hoped I made an impact and felt that I did, but never really realized it until that moment. And I think that's what the college funding coach means to me.
The college funding coach has done an enormous job in allowing me to sleep at night, knowing that, you know, our finances are invested in enough different types of instruments that we will not run out of money before we run out of breath.
Even if you think you're probably not eligible for financial aid, you may be surprised. I would encourage you to come to one of our sessions, learn about some of the strategies available that may be able to put you into a position financially so that you are suddenly now eligible for some help. Sometimes that help is nothing other than permission to borrow. But if it is permission to borrow at federally subsidized rates, which you might not have been eligible for before, you might well want to take advantage of that. So by all means, come to a seminar, learn what is possible, learn what is out there, because you might be surprised at what's available.
We don't know what we don't know. But when you attend the college funding seminars, it's like it unlocks the key. That door, that access is open. And that's what I believe is going to make a profound difference in the lives of many of our children.
I feel enormously grateful for having found the college funding coach, because I can't imagine that we would have been able to get Olivia through college without debt, without their assistance.
It is very rewarding being able to help families fund college and not sacrifice their retirement. You know, usually retirement is college is the last major goal before retirement. Families don't sometimes see how they're directly linked. Showing them how college and retirement are directly linked, and then being able to have a huge impact on getting college paid for and keeping their retirement goals intact is one of the most rewarding parts of my job.
We're financial planners, so we want to understand what are the goals, what are you and your family trying to achieve, and what are the steps we have to take to make that a reality. I think a lot of families spend more time, frankly, planning their summer vacation than they do college funding, retirement. These are major milestones in life. If we can just get them aligned with those goals, there's a tremendous amount of impact that we can have.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for making time to come this evening. On behalf of the counseling department, I want to welcome Mr. Chris Hernandez. It's a pleasure to introduce him. He has brought a wealth of experience to us, having joined the prestigious Mass Mutual New Jersey, New York City in 2019, immediately after graduating from Montclair State University with a Bachelor of Science in Finance. He has years of experience in dedicating his craft to the college funding coach, as well as personal finance and helping people like us build portfolios and make financial decisions. So in addition to those accomplishments, he's coming all the way to us from New Jersey today, first time west of Utah. So he will give us a whole bunch of education on the finances that we all know we need. I first met College Funding Coach at a conference I went to, and I felt like there were so many questions that as counselors we get asked about the FAFSA and how do we process for loans and do all of these things. So there's a lot of great new information that he will fill us all in. Please help me welcome Chris Hernandez.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Everyone talks about rain in Seattle. I've been here since 1 in the morning, no rain. So beautiful weather, happy to be here. Have family out here, like Katie said, it's the first time I'm out here, so knock 2 birds out with 1 stone, get to present to you guys. And like I'm gonna tell everyone here, I wanna make this conversational usually, but there's a lot of people here. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. If the question is maybe too specific, I'm gonna stick around after, answer any questions particularly, but if it applies to the entire group, I'll make sure to touch on it today. If you didn't get an opportunity to grab a welcome packet, please do. On that welcome packet, just some information about the College Funding Coach. There's a spot there to take notes. And then at the end, there's an evaluation sheet, which I'll touch on in just a minute. Myself, my contact information, which you guys will get at the end as well. Today's presentation, we blocked off about an hour and a half. Typically, it takes about 75 minutes, but if there's questions, about an hour and a half. It's a 30,000-foot overview. Right, so if I sat here and talked about all the different ways to pay for college, different strategies, different tools, we could sit here a couple hours, but I don't think anyone wants to be here until midnight talking about college, right? So I'm going to keep it at a 30,000-foot overview, and that evaluation form or the QR code you guys will see, that's a follow-up opportunity. We offer everyone here a free consultation, and it is free, there's no strings attached. Katie had us here last year or 2 years ago, I think it was. We're here to help, we're here to answer your questions. If there's personal questions you don't want to ask in front of the group, please fill out one of the consultations. Myself, one of my team members will reach out to you guys. All right. Volume-wise, you guys can hear me clearly back there at the end of the room? Perfect. That's our mini vault. So when you fill out the questionnaire, if you didn't get an opportunity to check in or just put your name and email, I know you guys all put it in when you registered. If you get a chance before leaving today, just make sure you give me your name and email. I'll check off that you were here, and you'll get access to our mini vault with all these different tools. You'll get a copy of today's presentation with slides. So if you're worried about taking pictures of something you liked, don't worry, you're getting a copy of the presentation. College Money Report's a nice little tool that'll help you guys understand your positioning financially for college, and then where you fall with certain schools that your son or daughter might be looking to go to school or college. Bunch of calculators, and then an on-demand recording. It's not me recording, it's Brock. I'm much better looking and much more entertaining than Brock, but if you guys want to watch Brock, you're more than welcome to, okay? And then specialty webinars. We have specialty webinars going on all the time. I encourage you guys, use the College Funding Coach website as a resource. Those specialty webinars could be 529 specifics, student loans and how to manage the student loan environment. Really niche presentations that we're doing, either myself or the 50 college funding coaches we have around the country. So I know we have high school students here, but just show of hands, how many people here have students before high school? Okay, so a good majority of it. The good thing is that today we're going to talk about stuff that applies not only for your high school students. If you guys have students that are in college, some of these things will even apply for those students that are already in school right now, right? And we're going to talk about things that can apply for those kindergarten students you have, or grandchildren that may be coming in the next couple of years if you guys have grandchildren coming. As you see, I'm a walker. I like to walk. I'm moving. I saw someone shake his head. No, I'm not going to call him out, but definitely no grandchildren for him in the near future. But what happens is, as we're looking at college, we're making sure to just go adapting the way we're planning for it as time goes on. When you have a newborn child early on, we're really focused on the access to college savings plans. What vehicles are out there? How do we save? Right, we're going to talk about all these different types of college savings vehicles that are available. As we get older, you see that like 6, 7, 8, 9 range. That's when every parent thinks that their child's going to be a pro athlete, right? They just started playing baseball, football, they just got out of flag football and playing maybe tackle a little bit, and they're saying, hey, we're going pro at this, or they're going to be a professional musician. As time goes on and they start getting into middle school, that's when we start to look and say, all right, our son's not really meant for school, or we really better hope he starts doing a little better in sports, because we're looking at their grades now. We're starting to assess where they're going to fall academically. And as we get to those high school years and really start to get towards the end, that's where we're really, savings is over for the most part, right? When you have a junior in high school, saving a couple $100,000 for college in just 2-3 years becomes difficult, maybe impossible, unless you go play and win the lottery. It's not going to happen usually. It really starts to become, how do we use cost-efficient dollars? How do we pick the right school to pay for college, right? So, some of our agenda for today. Why are we here? Well, we're going to talk about the problem with college in general, the cost, the ins and outs of the financial aid formula. This year, there has been drastic changes. Anyone here fill out the FAFSA before? Right, so you guys may have realized that there's been drastic changes from last year just to this year, and the formula has looked very, very different as well. Other people's money, if everyone's hand doesn't go up on this one, I'll be shocked, but how many of you guys would like to pay with other people's money instead of your own for college? Right, I get that one all the time, and unfortunately, we're not going to be able to pay all of college usually with other people's money, but how do we maximize that? And then how do we maximize your dollars? The money you have that you're planning on allocating towards college, how do we make sure to use that most efficiently? We'll talk about some strategies and solutions, and then next step, the follow-up opportunity. So before I jump into just the background of this class, I'm going to give a little background on the college funding coach. Brock Jolly, unique name. I think there's only 2 Brock Jollies in the United States. Brock's based out of Washington, D.C. That's where the college funding coach is out of. And Brock joined the financial services industry in 1997. Became a financial advisor, and when you guys think of financial advisors, most people think, oh, they just want to manage their money and help people plan for retirement. And when Brock started, that's exactly what he was trying to do. He was sitting down with people and saying, hey, are you ready for retirement? I'd like to help you plan for retirement. And what did most of the people he came across that were in their 40s, 50s say? I'd love to, but I got 3 kids, I got to plan for college first. And as he started to realize that every parent he talked to wanted to make sure their kid's college was taken care of before they were retiring, he said, all right, well, I got to do something about this. And then soon after he joined, the dot-com bubble hit in early 2000s. People lost, 50, 60% of their retirement portfolios, right? But yet college was still a priority, still a concern. So in 2002, Brock started the college funding coach, right? And his goal, his mission was, how do I help navigate this world of college and retirement? And we call it a tug of war, because at the end of the day, any dollar you put towards college is money you could have put towards your retirement. And any dollars you put towards your retirement, you could have put towards college. So it's this constant tug of war of how do we balance it? How do we make sure we can get a goal and get you guys to your goals to fund as much of college as you guys would like, while still living a comfortable retirement, right? So what he found is that most people have their money in one of 2 places, right? The first one was their homes, their home equity, right? Which is great tool, great asset. And the second one is their 401k or their retirement plans. And these are both great tools. We're not telling you not to save into any of these. But what's the problem with these 2 assets? They're not very liquid, right? They're great for retirement. They're great for the future. In retirement, most people downsize, right? They say, hey, I don't need this 3-4 bedroom house. My kids are out. Let's sell the house and downsize, and we'll get some money from the house. 401k is great. But if we touch before 59 and a half, we get penalties, taxes, and it turns out you lose more than you even put into it, it feels like, right? So these are great tools for retirement, but what we found is that they're not so great tools for college. So today what we're going to do is we're going to offer a plan, right? And we got Mount Rainier here. It's beautiful. I got a little glimpse of it today. My cousin hiked it in 2018 to the top. He said it was beautiful. He said, when you get there, you got to make sure you see it. Drive to it, do whatever you can, but it's awesome. And when we talk about Mount Rainier, is he hired a guide, right? Some people do it themselves. The guide does it himself. And for some of you, with the resource we'll talk about today, you may want to do this all yourself, and we encourage you to do that. We're going to provide you as much resources as possible. For other you say, there's no way I'm hiking Rainier or planning for college on my own. Every single college funding coach, myself, Brock, all the college funding coaches, we do have a background in financial planning and financial advising. We're here to help. The consultation is free, and if you guys want to work with us, we'll talk about what it looks like to work with us at the end of the free consultation. Okay. So for most families, college goes a little bit like this.
I got into one of the best schools in the country! I got into one of the most expensive schools in the country!
When stress gives you heartburn with headache, Alka-Seltzer gives you relief fast. Womp womp. This is...
Anyone starting to feel that? Anyone had to take Alka-Seltzer with those acceptance letters coming in? No, not yet. So, again, we're here to hopefully relieve that. I should be getting money from Alka-Seltzer with the amount we play this. The college funding coach is like probably their main advocate branding at this point. But you guys will have every family here. Not everyone's going to be in the same quadrant, but all you fall into one of these 4 quadrants: your family and your student. Right? What does that mean? The first one, maybe you guys are a family that falls into this high merit. You're a great student, high merit opportunity, but low financial need, just based on your finances. The schools don't deem you needy for cost of college or for aid. Low merit, low need, high merit, high need, and then the last one, low merit, high need, right? The goal is to really understand where you guys fall and then pick the school that's going to cater best to you, right? Ultimately, we want to try to get our students to the right fit school and get them out in 4 years. I'll tell you, the easiest way to save money on college is making sure they're not on the 5 or 6 year track. That gets expensive quick, right? So how do we pick? This isn't me, right? This is the great work that the counselors do as well. Leverage the counseling team. We're not here to replace them. They're the ones that know your students best. Academically, they're going to help them fit the right academic school for them. We're here to then help you guys fit as a family the right financial school for you guys. Okay. So I'm going to say this a couple times, but please don't shoot the messenger at any point throughout this presentation. I am just relaying the facts. The average cost of college just continues to go up, right? Public universities in state is about $27,000. Out of state is about $45,000. These are national averages. Our private schools are getting to $58,000 a year now. And our elite and Ivy League universities, $80,000 plus. I read a statistic that by 2026, we will have our first school hit $100,000 per year. I think it's school in Chicago is leading the way at like $92,000 already. Helping a parent right now, they have a freshman looking to go to Tufts University in Massachusetts. Tufts University in 4 years is projected to be $96,000 a year for an undergraduate degree. It's crazy, it's out of control, and unfortunately, it's not getting any better. For those of you that may be familiar with inflation, you felt it this year, I'm sure, right? I know on the East Coast we felt it, and I'm sure on the West Coast it wasn't any different, right? What we did is we took the CPI index, the 8 components of the consumer price index, which is how our economy factors in inflation and understands inflation, and we broke it out over the last 23 years, okay? And we broke down the different 8 components. Food and beverage is up 93, housing up 94, apparel, believe it or not, over the past 23 years, inflation-wise, is actually down or almost flat. Transportation, 82.5. Medical care, up 115% over the past 23 years. Recreation, 33. Education, communication, 41. Other goods and services, about 104. What we did is we took that education, communication, and we said, well, what's the education side of this, right? And we took that out, and that's all the way on the right. College tuition and fees is up 181% in 23 years. It's about 8% a year. Right? The S&P 500 historically returns about 10%. So what does that mean, right? Saving for college is a monster goal. Forget hiking Mount Rainier, it's like hiking Everest. Right? So you have to make sure that when you are saving and paying for college, you're doing it in the most effective and efficient way possible. Because you got a lot of different factors working against you. Okay. Any questions so far? Concept versus reality. This is a new slide we have, and I think it's very interesting. I played baseball in high school, got an opportunity to play freshman year of college, and quit baseball my freshman year of college because My father got sick with cancer, right? I quit baseball, took care of my father, and ultimately that's the reason I'm with the college funding coach. I'm the oldest of 4. I was a sophomore going to Arcadia University. Had a good scholarship, I had good grades, played baseball, was doing well. As good as we thought I was, I didn't get a full ride. Okay? I got about a 50% scholarship to go to college, which was great, very grateful for it. Went to Montclair afterwards, and what we realized is that college isn't really easy to get a full ride for, right? If you look over there on the top right, 0.3% of students get a full ride to college based on scholarships. Okay? That's very, very tiny. If you think about the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of students that are going to college every year. Okay? When it comes to the financial aid package letters, you're going to look up at this one because it's always changing. 55% of families are receiving grants, which is free money you don't have to pay back. Of those grants, though, the average amount is only about $5,000. Okay, it helps for books, some costs. We just talked about the average cost of tuition is insane. Right? 60% of families are receiving scholarship, and those scholarships are about $6,000 per year. So, we know college isn't going to be free for most students. We know that scholarships can be limited. And this is scholarships through the school. What do? Where do we save? Right, so we're going to talk now about, hold on a second. Sorry, there's a slide missing. Oh, there it is. This is an important slide, so I knew it was missing right away. We're going to talk about where do we save, right? What I'm here to tell you is that there's no silver bullet. There's no one way to save for college. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different historical savings vehicles, and I'm going to just talk about pros and cons of each, right? It's not saying that you should use one in particular. It's not saying there's a good and bad one. For every family here, it might be a little bit different. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is UGMA and UTMA accounts. These are custodial accounts that a lot of parents or grandparents take out for their children. Right? Great accounts, you can invest in a lot of different things. There's a lot of tax benefits to these accounts because they get taxed in a much lower tax bracket. What are some of the things that I look at when I see this account? Well, in Washington it's a lot different than New Jersey, right? So this is a parental asset, right? And we're going to talk about what that means. Today you're going to hear me talk a lot about parental assets and student assets, because when we look at the FAFSA, they're factored differently. Okay, so UGMA accounts are parental assets until the child becomes the age of majority, as they call it. Now, New Jersey's 21, so a lot of times that could be senior year. If there's $30,000, $40,000 in this account, and your child turns 21 his senior year in September, that's his money. I don't know how many people want their 21-year-old in college getting a $30,000 account to do what he'd like with, right? The good thing is that in Washington, believe it or not, the age of majority for these accounts is 21, but the parent has the option to push it out as far as to 25. Right, so great opportunity for you guys. Now from a tax incentive perspective, lower tax brackets, but there's not really tax deferrals like some of the other college savings vehicles we'll talk about. You're going to pay taxes every year. It's almost like having a regular investment account. It's just for your child, and the parent, grandparent, someone else is in control of it. These accounts can be used for absolutely anything, right? So I get this question a lot. What if my son or daughter doesn't go to college? What happens to this account? No problem. They want to open up a business. This account could be seed money for them to open up a business. They need a car. As long as the money is being used for the benefit of the child, you can use the money inside of this account. Okay. The next one is education savings bonds, right? They're starting to come back a little bit, right? But ultimately, as much as interest rates might feel higher now, because 2 years ago we were getting mortgage rates in the 2s, at the end of the day, historically, we're still in a relatively low interest rate environment. So where we saw these become more common, or this is when we still have some grandparents that took these out 30 years ago, and they're just starting to mature now because they took them out in the 80s, 90s, when interest rates were a little bit higher. So I don't want to say it's not a good tool, but it's really become an outdated tool because we just talked about the inflation rate of college being 8%. If it's paying a 5% coupon, right? Are you really doing anything? You're still behind the game. So we're not seeing too much money going into these education savings bonds at this point. The next one's also a little bit outdated, but we want to have it on there, right, just to educate you guys, is educational IRAs or Coverdell's. Educational IRAs or Coverdell's are college-specific vehicles. You can contribute into them. The money inside of there grows tax deferred. Many of you guys may think of tax deferrals in your 401ks, IRAs. As the money's growing, we don't have to pay taxes. And as long as you use it for college, you can use that money 100% tax-free. Here's the catch. You can only contribute $2,000 per year per parent into these accounts now. Right, so $2,000 over 18 years, $36,000. Let's say we have a little bit of growth, account grows to $50,000. Maybe we paid for 1 year of tuition. Right, so it's become outdated in the sense we can't contribute as much as maybe we'd like or need to keep up with the cost. Loans, grants, scholarships, one of my favorite topics. I could really sit here and talk about an hour about it. Being that I was here, I'm only here for 48 hours and I didn't check it back, I didn't bring the books. But if you guys want to write down this one book, I love it. It's called Winning Scholarships for College by Mary Ann Raggins. It's a red book. I think it's on the 5th edition. I'll repeat it one more time. Winning Scholarships for College by Mary Ann Raggins. Mary Ann Raggins is an author who, freshman year, she knew she wasn't going to have the opportunity to have her parents pay for college for her. It was on her. Right? And she started seeking out private scholarships right off the bat. By the time she went to college, she had amounted $400,000 worth of scholarships. Right? She paid for her tuition, for all of her tuition strictly on scholarships. Okay. So one thing I'm going to tell you guys today is that apply now, apply early, apply often. I have a family we're working with, 7-year-old, just got a $250 scholarship. I know it's not a lot of money, but the work was minimal. They had to submit a piece of art that showed what they're passionate about. Right? $250. Right? Parents got the check in the mail. They could now reinvest that for college. Even through college, they could be applying. Some of the cool scholarships I like. Anyone heard of the duct tape scholarship? No? You've seen the duct tape scholarship, Katie, right? So duct tape scholarship is for that child that decides to wear a duct tape suit or dress to prom. It's a $30,000 scholarship. Right? I've seen some crazy, crazy good duct tape suits and dresses. Right? Like, you see them from a distance, you have no idea. Okay? Everyone familiar with Dave Letterman? Right? Dave Letterman went to Ball State, right? And he gives a full ride, I think it's actually up to 5 now, full rides every year to Ball State. But here's the catch. You gotta be an average student. You play varsity sports, you're not average. You got straight A's, you're not average, right? He said, I was just the average student, so I want to give that same opportunity to the average student. So 5 scholarships for journalism majors at Ball State every year. So I'm telling you, there's a scholarship for every student here in this room. There's a scholarship out there for them. If they play the trombone with their left hand instead of their right, there's a scholarship. Okay? There's $18 billion, with a B, dollars worth of scholarship money available every single year. $3 billion goes unused. Right? One trick, I actually, this was my old baseball coach. He works with us. I know his son since I was, playing for him. I was like, hey, I know your son. He's an entrepreneur. He said, bribe him. He said, what do you mean? I said, he wants a job, he wants the car, he wants to do all these things. He's a junior in high school. I said, tell him that for every dollar worth of scholarship money he gets you, or he gets himself, you're going to give him 25 cents. Yeah, it's costing him some money, but it's 75 cents he's getting worth of scholarship money now. Now the son negotiated, he's up to 37 cents for the dollar, but he's got $27,000 worth of scholarship money. Right? So get creative, make it fun, make it exciting for your kids. They're going to put in the work a little bit more than if you just tell them, hey, go do scholarships because you got to pay for college. Okay. Loans is a tricky one. I'm going to just touch on loans. Loans is a constantly changing thing. 2 years ago, college loans were super great to take out. Now they're getting higher as interest rates go up. Right? So loans, I always say, is an at-year type of thing, but it's great to have your child put a little skin in the game. Right? There's a student loan crisis in this country. We see the amount of student loans. The default rate on student loans is through the roof after the COVID pause. If you guys are familiar with what happened in COVID, they paused all federal student loans for students that have it. Now I work with a lot of medical students that just graduated and they said, oh, my loans are paused. I'm gonna take that $2,200 payment that I'm supposed to have, I'm gonna get an apartment with it. And they don't really budget out for it, so there's a huge default rate on loans right now, but loans are not always a bad thing, right? I say loans are good as long as you have a plan and a strategy on how to pay them back, okay? Just know what you're taking out, and really understand the interest rates you're getting yourself into and the contract you're getting yourself into, okay? Section 127 Employer Assistance Programs, this is new. We're at a time, they call it the Great Resignation. Ask your employer if you don't know if you have it or if they do, right? Ask your employer if there's something they're willing to do. What it is, it's like your 401k. You get a match on your 401k. A lot of employers are opening up Section 127 Employer Assistance Programs. And what they are is they're putting matches into 529s, for example, through your company, right? So you contribute to your 529, they're matching a portion of that contribution. Other companies are doing kind of a match on your loan payment. So if your payment's $1,000, they're going to give you 20% on the dollar up to a maximum of $20,000 over your time with them, right? So just ask, right? Maybe it's something they're not even aware of. Maybe it's something they're looking to open open up for the company and the employees. Borrowing against retirement plans. I said early on, it's a balance, right? At the end of the day, if you guys run out of money in retirement, do you think you can go to the bank and just ask for a loan? No, right? You don't have a job, the likelihood that they're going to give you a loan is probably low. So make sure you're taking care of yourselves first, right? I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense to borrow in retirement plans, but I just say proceed with caution. Here's one of the reasons why. A lot of you may contribute to 401ks for two reasons. One, to save for retirement, but the other one's to get tax deductions, right? And we get our tax deductions on a yearly basis for saving to our 401k. What happens is when we take out a loan from our 401k, a lot of people say, yeah, but I pay myself back with, I pay the interest back to myself. You're right. But you pay that back with after-tax dollars. Right? You get taxed on your paycheck, and then you pay it back. And then what happens when retirement comes around? If you didn't do a really good job accounting for every dollar, which is immensely difficult, you gotta hire a very, very good accountant to keep track of all that. What happens is you take that money out, and you're paying taxes again. I don't know many people that want to pay tax on their money once, forget twice, right? So just be careful. Just like I said, proceed with caution. Not saying that it's not an ability to use, but be careful when taking out your employer your retirement plans to pay for college. Leveraging real estate equity. This is another one. I come from a family, Cuban immigrants. When we got here, my grandparents, all they knew is that, well, real estate, I could touch that, they can't take that away from me. Right? So real estate's a great, great tool. But another thing, right? Let's just be careful. That's an asset that is not liquid, it's not easy to access. So I'm going to give two examples. One example is a great time to leverage real estate. Mortgage rates were in the 2s, 3s. Student loan rates were in the 4s and 5s. Right? 2 years ago, for those parents that were going to take out loans under their name as a parent, instead of taking out a student loan, some of these parents we looked at taking out a home equity line of credit or another mortgage, a different mortgage, lowering their interest rate and borrowing from their home. Right, at a much lower interest rate than what they had through student loan opportunities. Here's where I say proceed with caution, though, on real estate. I'm sure many of you guys remember 2008, right? Housing market took a complete turn for the worse, 2008, 2009. There's a book, Rag to Riches, I think is the name of the book. It's about a gentleman that his college plan was his real estate. And he took out a 15-year mortgage. And he's like, I'm going to pay this mortgage down as quickly as I possibly can. By the time my kids get to college, the house will be paid off. I can either use the money that I'm saving on the mortgage to pay for the house, or for college, or I can sell, I can take it. I got all this equity. That was early 2000s, or like 2004, 2003, 2004, more or less, he bought that house. He was crushing it. He was making extra payments. That 15-year mortgage was scheduled to be paid off in like 9 years. 2008 hit, he lost his job. Right? He made all these extra payments. All of a sudden, he couldn't afford that mortgage payment. He went to the bank and said, hey guys, I made all these extra payments. Do you think I can catch a break for a couple months until I get back on my feet? What do you think the bank said? No, you don't have a job. All right, well, no problem. Let's just refinance from a 15-year to a 30, because that lower monthly payment, I'll be all right. I have enough in savings to make that 30-year mortgage payment. You think the bank let him refinance to a 30-year mortgage? Oh, he didn't have a job. Guy ended up selling his house at a huge discount, barely broke even on it, and his entire college plan had his equity in the house. Everything kind of went to shambles, unfortunately. Right? So I bring that up because real estate is a great tool, but like anything, it faces volatility. It's not to say the stock market doesn't do the same thing. The stock market crashed tremendously in 2008, 2009 as well. But one thing, like I said in the very beginning, is diversifying. There's no one tool here to pay for college or for anything. Right? Making sure to spread out your risk. Cash value life insurance, very popular tool we've seen as well. When people think of life insurance, most people think of dying. No, we're not trying to kill you off to pay for college, I promise. Right? There are specific life insurance vehicles that actually go building equity or cash inside of them that can be used to borrow from and pay for college. Commonly, we see these used during down times, right? 2022, when there was negative year in the market, stock market was down. A lot of these life insurance vehicles had positive returns. People leverage their cash value inside their life insurance. Okay. Post 9/11 GI Bill or ROTC programs. Katie, help me out here. I don't know many ROTC programs here in Washington. You know any off the top of your head? No. Okay. East Coast has a bunch of them. If you want to send your kids to the East Coast ROTC programs, but again, post 9/11 GI Bill, if your son or daughter wants to serve in any of the branches of the U.S. military, or if you have, or you or your spouse have prior U.S. military experience, look into the GI Bill. There might be opportunity to help if you served with your children's tuition, or if they want to serve, have their education paid for by serving in the U.S. military, either before or after their college education. Okay. Section 529 college savings plans. So this is by far the most common college savings vehicle we see today. Right? It's replaced most of the other vehicles. There's a lot of pros and cons about it. There's a lot of myths about it there too. Now, usually I don't get to talk much about the prepaid savings variety. Washington has a prepaid savings variety. You guys all familiar with that? You're familiar with the prepaid savings variety? Anyone? Right. So what does that mean? For those of you that have maybe younger kids still in elementary school, high school, if you want to lock in tuition prices today for when your son or daughter goes to school 6, 7, whatever many years from now, you can lock in those tuition prices today. Here's the catch. They have to go to an in-state public school here in Washington. Okay. Pros and cons is you get to lock in that cost early. Here's the con. Florida has it. I was working with a parent down in Florida. They were so excited. Florida has a lot of great in-state schools as well. Turns out that the daughter didn't care for any of the Florida in-state schools. She said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to Northwestern. $78,000 a year. Okay. You get your money back from these prepaid varieties, but with a very nominal interest. Like very, very tiny interest. So all that money they had put in, they got back, but it really didn't make up for that lost time, those 15, 16 years that they had been putting into to pay for college. Turned into a bit of a battle. They came to an agreement. The daughter's going to go to graduate school at Northwestern, so it worked out. She's going to go to undergraduate in the state of Florida. Right? But just be aware of that. We don't know where our children are going to go 8, 9 years from now to school. We don't know the decisions they're going to make. The savings variety, on the other hand, has become much more common for the reason that the limits have gone up and up. So the cover that we talked about, a $2,000 limit, don't quote me, they just changed. I think it's $17,000 per year per parent this year. It's either 17 or 18. So what does that mean? As a parent, if you're married, each parent could put $17,000 a year per child into these 529 plans. Okay. That money grows tax deferred and can be used tax-free for any college expense. It could also be used for higher education expenses, like private high school. Okay, so you actually have the ability to use these 529s for private high school. Up to $10,000 is the current limit. I don't think they changed this year. $10,000 per year for private high school. Okay. A lot of people say, yeah, but Chris, I heard that if they don't go to college, I get taxed and penalized on all that money. That's not the case. You only get a 10% penalty and taxes on your gains. So a quick example, you put $50,000 in over your lifetime, it grew to 75. You're only going to get that 10% penalty on that $25,000 worth of growth, and you're only going to pay the taxes on that $25,000 worth of growth. Okay? Any questions on any of these historical savings vehicles? Anyone feel like they're drinking out of a fire hose? A couple people thought so. It gets worse, so you're gonna keep drinking, right? There's a lot more information, but again, just want you guys to know, I'm gonna get a copy of the slides out to you guys, so make sure to get a copy, and this is recorded, so don't freak out. You have plenty of time to watch it over and look over it again. When it comes to the 529 plans, other than the prepaid variety, if we're looking at the savings variety, Washington does not have any state tax deductions for saving into the Washington state plan. Okay, so what does that mean? You can really go and find the best plan for your family, right? If you like, New Hampshire is currently Fidelity or BlackRock. I think Ohio's BlackRock actually. If you like BlackRock better than the Washington, which I'm forgetting, it's the Get plan, but I can't remember the asset manager here. They're all sponsored by a specific mutual fund company, these 529s. You have to invest in just mutual funds. That's another con potentially to some of you, right? Compared to UTMAs, UGMAs, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in other things, ETFs, stocks, bonds. In the 529, it has to be mutual funds by that asset manager that manages it for the state. So New Jersey's Franklin Templeton, Virginia's American Funds, Ohio's BlackRock, right? They're spread around the country. Being that Washington has no state tax deductions, go find the asset manager you guys like best, right? Lowest fees, highest rate of return. It's really up to you guys which one you want to use, okay? So, one thing I'm going to tell you guys, actually I'm going to ask a question first. Anyone here go buy a car ever, a new car, even a used car? A few nods, right? Anyone ever pay the sticker price that they see right when they walk in? Right? Most people don't, right? Unless it was a really good sticker price. But even then, you try to get a couple dollars off, right? College is a business, right? Negotiate. Where do we get the room, the leverage to negotiate? Is right here, the endowment funds of these schools, okay? During COVID, believe it or not, colleges were having such an issue with students not dropping out, but saying, hey, I'm just going to do remote classes. I'm not going to dorm at college. If I can't do anything during COVID, why would I just go to campus? I'll just schooling from home. Right? That they were actually putting on their frequently asked questions. If you don't like your financial aid package, please call and ask. Right? If you don't ask, you don't get. Okay? So, anyone recognize that top left school, that crimson bumper sticker? Right? Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard University, $49 billion endowment fund. Right? What does that mean? Harvard can afford a free ride for their students for a very long time. They got $49 billion sitting there. If you have a need and you get accepted to Harvard, you're going there for free. All right? Usually I pick on Rutgers University, which is New Jersey school, but I'm going to pick today on University of Washington. Big endowment fund, $4.7 billion. What's the catch? $4.7 billion they got. I had to write it down, I don't know off the top of my head. They have 46,000 students. Still a lot of money for a lot of students, but it doesn't go quite as far as $49 billion for a small bunch of students that goes to Harvard. The reason I pick on Rutgers is Rutgers has a $1.9 billion endowment fund, but they got 75,000 students right now. 75,000 students, 3 campuses, and a football team that they pay way too much money into because they never go anywhere. Never, right? So, when I say this, it's really understanding where your son or daughter goes to college. This is that quadrant I was talking about early on, right? Maybe you guys have heard of it. East Coast, no one ever knows it. Grinnell College, Iowa, right? Grinnell College, did I put them up here? Yeah, $2.5 billion endowment fund. Not quite as big as Harvard, actually similar size to Rutgers, but they have like 2,400 students, right? In the middle of nowhere, right? They have to incentivize their students to come here. If you have a need and you get into Grinnell College, they're going to pay for a full ride. So it's not necessarily the size of the endowment fund, but it's more the generosity of the school. You can look it up. It's like they're constantly updating it, top like 100 endowment funds in the country. You can just Google that, it'll come up. But it's really understanding the combination of the size of the school, the generosity of the endowment fund. These are some of those negotiating tactics on how to make sure you get more financial aid. Right? I'll give myself as an example. I had mentioned before I got about a 50% scholarship to Arcadia University, tiny little school in Glenside, Pennsylvania. Right? 2,800 students. When I went to Arcadia, it was $52,000 a year. At first, I only got a $10,000 scholarship. I looked at my coach, I was like, Coach, 42 grand's a lot of money, and Mom and Dad said they can afford 20. I don't want to take out $22,000 a year in lumps. What do I do? So just write a letter to the financial aid department. Tell them you'd love to go to school here, it's your top choice. What can they do for you? That's all I wrote. I wrote an email, I didn't even write a letter. Right? 2 weeks later, got a new they didn't even respond. New financial aid package came in the mail. My $10,000 went to 19. I said, Coach, that sounds pretty good. I think I might be able to go here. He says, write another one. I responded with the email, hey, thank you so much for the generous offer. Is there anything else you guys are willing to do? That 19 turned into 27. All I did was write an email. So if there's one big takeaway you guys get today is college is a business, negotiate. And I didn't do a very good job negotiating. All I did was ask, right? If you get into two similar schools, pit one another against each other, right? There's a lot of money there. There's a lot of opportunity, okay? The other thing I'm going to share is how do you really get these schools to care about you? There's a lot of kids that apply. I'm sure as parents, I have younger siblings. I have a, man, how old is he now? He's a 13-year-old half-brother. He's like my kid. Especially after my father passed away, but literally he's like my kid sometimes, and I can't get him off TikTok. I can't. TikTok, Instagram. He liked something the other day. I'm like, how do you even follow this account? You can't be following that, right? Make Instagram, make Twitter, make all those things an advantage to you and your family. What do I mean by that? Have your son or daughter follow the schools. They want to go to Grinnell, they want to go to University of Washington, make sure they follow and like every single post that comes out. They track it. AI tracks everything right now. Everything. Okay. If they go to the campus, you guys go on a college visit, take a picture with the mascot. Hey, had such a great time visiting University of Washington, tag them in it. Because you know what that means is if me and your child are going to the same school, we have the same grades, do the same thing, same sports, we're splitting images of each other. But they were doing that. Who do you think's getting in? Who do you think's getting the bigger financial aid package? Your child. Why? Because they're free marketing. Again, it's a business, right? Take advantage. That's what's called expressed interest, right? There's actually terminology for that, right? Schools do look at it. So sign up for the newsletter, open the newsletter. We get to see when you guys open our newsletters if you don't unsubscribe. So I'm telling you, we track it, they track it, okay? Any questions? How are we doing on time? Let me just check my time here. Apply for financial aid now. I don't think those big green letters can get any more obnoxious, right? Now. And the college funding coach is green, that's why we picked it. But what do we mean by that? If you have a freshman, you're not applying for financial aid. But get yourself ready to apply for financial aid. There's free tools, free calculators that you can start simulating your cost of college, your financial aid letters today. Right? That way you have a better idea how to position yourself and what schools you're looking at. So we're going to go into some examples, some changes in FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. The CSS profile, anyone fill that out? I see one hand. Long process. It's like the longest process. They want everything. So I tell you now, if you're going to fill it out, get your favorite drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic, just get your favorite drink, put your favorite TV show on, make it a date night, because you're going to be there like 6 hours, okay? I promise you, it's a long application. I helped one client with it. I don't think I will ever help a client with it again at this point, okay? But why do I bring that up? There's not many schools that look at this, but it's 179 schools, right? Yeah, 179 schools. These typically are some of the most generous schools. They want everything. They want all of your information. Where do you have the money? You got anything under the mattress? They want to know about it, right? Don't tell them. But they want to know everything because they're going to really take everything into consideration before they give that financial aid package. All right. They're going to look at non-custodial parents, so if there's anyone here that's divorced, right? The FAFSA doesn't look at it quite as much, but the CSS profile is going to ask for information for the non-custodial parent as well. Okay. Now, in case someone's wondering, well, their father, mother, or the other parent isn't really in the picture. See me afterwards. There's exceptions. There's appeal letters you can write. we can talk about that offline, so we don't have to talk about it, for the whole group. So come see me after, we can discuss that. They'll also look at home equity. And then lastly, there's the school's institutional forms. Certain schools have their own specific form. Usually it's not too painful, but just some specific questions they have above and beyond the FAFSA that they want filled out. We're going to talk about 3 terms today. COI, if you hear me kind of abbreviate, it's COA, cost of attendance, and then SAI. SAI replaced the term EFC. Anyone heard of expected family contribution for those of you that filled out the FAFSA? They just changed that this year, right? So the reason they changed it is because a lot of parents are saying expected family contribution, oh, that's what I'm expected to pay. Not quite, that's just what the Department of Education believes you can afford. The student aid index was replaced. It's the same concept, it's just a new name. Student aid index is the number that the Department of Education believes you can afford as a family when paying for college. Okay. And then we take cost of attendance minus the student aid index, and we get your family's financial aid. Just a quick drink. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. So, when we're filling out the FAFSA, what are they looking at, right? So, there's 2 things that we're going to look at, 2 columns, assessable versus non-assessable assets. What's important to know is that this is looked at the time of application, right? So when you apply, it's what you have that day. What's assessable, what's non-assessable. All right, so let's look at the assessable first. We're going to have assets and incomes that are assessable. The gold letters, it's what's changed, right? Because last year, it was a different kind of formula. So these are some of the changes for this year, in case you filled out the FAFSA last year. Assets, bank accounts, investments, 529s, UGMA, UTMAs, investment properties, businesses, child support, and farms. Any farms? Anyone own a farm here? No? Okay. I live in North Jersey, there's no farms either, so it's okay. Western Jersey, ever so often. But 2 things I'm going to touch on here. 529 plans. That is a parental asset. Okay? It is for the benefit of your child, but it is a parental asset. Big difference there. And we'll talk about why, right? Parental assets get calculated at a much lower rate than student assets. Second one, investments. And I'll dive deeper into this. Investments do not, I repeat, do not include your retirement accounts. Okay? These are investments outside of retirement-specific vehicles. Okay? That is the #1 mistake I see every year when filling out the FAFSA. Parents take their 401ks and they include it under investments. And it knocks them out of financial aid. Okay? Income, wages, rental income, business income, interest and dividends. This is a new change. IRA and KEO contributions. Right? So if you're contributing to an IRA plan, hey, guess what? That's money you could have been saved into a 529 or putting towards college. They're going to take that contribution and count it against you, unfortunately. But they are not counting current retirement plan deferrals through employers. So it's very very unique this year. If you're contributing into a 401k plan, 401k, 403b, there's 401as, an employer-sponsored retirement plan, they're not going to count against you. Right? Specifically the IRA and the KEO plans. All right. Now what's non-assessable? There it is, retirement plan assets. 401k assets, once it's in there, it's sheltered. IRA assets, once the money is inside there, it's not assessable. Please, again, biggest takeaway when filling out, do not include your 401k plans as investments. Right? Again, typically that's where most people have the majority of their investable assets. The moment you put it in there, knock yourself out of financial aid. Primary residents are typically not included. Like I said, certain schools will look at primary residences, but for the most part, the equity in your primary residence is not included. Life insurance, like I said, the cash value inside life insurance vehicles is not assessable. Annuity vehicles, not assessable. Household items. I get this question every single year. So if I got $200,000 in the bank and I decide to go buy myself a Lamborghini, you're telling me they're not going to count that Lamborghini? You're right. I just don't know how happy your significant other will be. I don't think it's the best idea. But if you do decide to do that, give me a call. Let's go for a ride. Okay? Personal debt. City areas, Seattle, I know can be expensive. I know the Northeast is very expensive. So unfortunately, you got a lot of debt, a lot of credit card debt, maybe mortgages, things like that. They're not helping you either. So they're not counting the debt you have as a consideration either. All right? And then lastly, income financial aid will not hurt you. Food stamps, pension rollovers, or loans are not going to count as assessable assets. I repeat, the assessable for non-dismissal is the day of the application. So let's look at some of the major changes that have happened in the past year or so with the FAFSA. Here's how I'll go. This was a huge, huge negative one. Income protection allowances no longer divided by the number of colleges and schools simultaneously. So in the past, when you had twins, it was a huge advantage. They took the number of your expected family contribution, now student aid index, they divided it. It was great, right? You have two kids going to college at the same time. If you had a $50,000 SAI, student aid index, they dropped it down to somewhere around 25. Now each child is going to get their own. Become a really, really big negative, and it doesn't just mean twins. If you have a freshman and a sophomore, freshman, junior, whatever combination, this has been a big negative impact. It's made school a lot more expensive for those families. No allowances for state and other tax deduction, can be a little negative. It's not huge, but it is a negative change. Untaxed income from family member will not be counted in the formula for the child or income for the child. This is a huge positive change. So let me break this one down a little bit. In the past, or we still see it, grandparents might have opened up a 529 for your children, for their grandchildren. In the past, what used to happen is the year that the grandparents used that money for college, that became income for the child. So what does that mean? If they used it freshman year and they paid $50,000 out of the 529, well now, going into sophomore year, when you file the FAFSA again, because it's a yearly application, your child has a $50,000 income that wasn't true income. It was money from the 529 that the grandparents used to pay. So all of a sudden, financial aid might have been knocked out the window for that next year. If they were receiving grants or scholarships because of need, maybe you guys aren't getting it anymore. So we had to work around that. There were strategies we used, but now that's no longer there. So if a grandparent has money that they're going to help with college, they can use that at any year with no negative impact to the child. So a huge, huge positive change in that aspect. Business value counts regardless of the number of employees. Can be a negative change for those of you that are business owners. In the past, it used to be if you had 100 employees, that's when they would count the value of the business. Now, it's any business of any size is going to get counted, so it can be a negative impact. Farm value counts excluding the primary residence. No one has a farm, so for here, it's really negligible. This is another one that it used to be a mystery, right? Hey, did I get the Pell Grant or not? How do you know? Right, so if your family's in a position that you have high financial need, this is where typically the Pell Grant would come in. It's like a $20,000 grant. Now you can actually look up if you're going to qualify ahead of time. Right? If any of you guys feel like you may qualify or low financial need, the formula is pretty complicated, so I didn't include it today, but come see me or fill out the survey and we can talk a little bit deeper about what the Pell Grant looks like. Parent income allowance will increase by 20%, positive change. What that means is that they're sheltered, they're giving you more allowances towards your income and counting less of your income towards the FAFSA. Same thing with the dependent student. The income allowance increased for the dependent student, which is a positive change by about 35%. And then this one's it's still like, we have no idea really. It's like kind of gray. And I don't say we have no idea, but it's such a weird wording. In the past, in divorce situations, parents were getting creative, right? If you guys shared custody, they'd say, hey, well, you have the lower income, you file the FAFSA for the child, right? Well, they caught on. And they said, well, great, now it's going to be the parent that provides the greatest financial support, hence the greatest adjusted gross income. So whoever has the highest income has to file the child on the FAFSA, which is going to be a negative change because there's going to be less opportunity for financial aid. Okay? So, big picture. Let's do a quick overview of the student aid index. Student aid index is composed of these three components: the parent's contribution, student's contribution from income, and the student's contribution from assets. That equals our total student aid index. Everyone know the Dunphy family? They're going to be our test dummies for today, right? So we got the Dunphy family here, and we made up some numbers for them. Married, 3 children, 1 heading to school next year. Older spouse is 50. Why do we bring that up? They do take the age of the older spouse into consideration. The closer you are to retirement, the higher the allowances, the higher the credits get. So, if you're the older spouse, congratulations, you're helping out. Now you get to brag about it. Right? Parents' income is $180,000 of adjusted gross income, and they paid about $32,000 worth of federal taxes. Parents' assessable assets is about $100,000. The college-bound child has about $9,500 worth of adjusted gross income, and then a little bit of assets of their own, about $15,000 in assets. So, what I'm going to ask you guys to do is trust my math. If you don't, I think it used to be like 32 pages. I think it's a 36-page document on the IRS website that breaks down the formula for student aid index. If you have any trouble sleeping tonight, start reading. I promise you'll fall asleep. All right, so we look at the parents' income, we take into account their allowances, so on and so forth. Their total allowances was about $78,000, so about $101,000 of their income got factored in. Then we take their assets into consideration. They get some allowances for their assets. About $7,000 of their assets got protected, and it got factored in at a 12% rate. That equaled about $11,000. So the parents' adjusted available income was $112,000. Goes into another formula, and it spits out the total parent student aid contribution is about $46,000. But hold on, we're not done. Let's take the child into consideration. So, the child gets allowances as well. The good thing is I get it every year. Hey, well, if you're telling me my child's income is going to hurt, should I allow them to get a summer job? Yes, absolutely. Typically, they're not going to make enough to really make a justifiable impact on the student aid index. Okay. In this example, actually, their income wasn't high enough to the point that it actually had a negative value, so it actually decreased, not by much, but $115. Now here's the trick, not the trick, but an important fact to keep in mind. The student assets get 0 allowances, and they're factored in at a 20% value. So I just mentioned the parents get some allowances and get factored in at 12. So do not have too much money in your child's name. Now, that's one little known secret we talk about today. Right? If you're on the cusp of qualifying for aid, and that's why I said before, apply now, run your numbers today. I'll come to you for the question. I'll come to you in a second. It's at the time of application, these assets. Right? So don't hold too much money in your kid's name, or at least move it to your name, because it's going to be factored in a lower amount. And that little bit can be impactful if you're on that cusp of qualifying for aid. Yes, there was a question. Pretty unique situation because it's settlements. If you want, let's talk offline on that. It's definitely a unique situation. So parents or families' total student aid index is about $49,000. So this is the number the Department of Education believes the family can afford for college per year. In case I didn't make that clear. Okay. Now, just because it's $49,000, if the cost of tuition is $90,000, right? And it's not a generous school, it doesn't mean you're going to get away paying $49,000. You might pay $80,000. You might pay the full $90,000. It's just kind of a benchmark. It's really a benchmark more so for the schools. If you have a very generous school that costs $90,000 a year, the likelihood is you're going to pay somewhere around your student aid index. They're going to give grants or scholarships for the extra amount, and you'll pay somewhere around what your student aid index is if you go to a very generous school, like I was saying, like Grinnell College. Okay. Any questions on this? I know that was a lot of numbers. Good thing is you don't have to do that whole formula. You don't have to look at the IRS website. Our website, thecollegefundingcoach.org, please, like I said, use it. There's the College Money Report. it's just going to prompt you to put in the numbers, and you can go fill in just the numbers, and it'll tell you where to find it on tax returns or what assets, and you can calculate your student aid index on your own. In the free consultation, that's part of what we do in the free consultation with you guys as well. Yes, question? Great question. So she asked, besides endowment funds, how do we identify what schools are going to be more generous than others? First, I'll tell you the free consultation, we'll go through that with the schools. We'll actually have you put schools and we'll show you examples. But college aid, the College Board website, right? On there, if you go into it, it actually shows, if you look at their financial aid page, and actually now, as crazy as it sounds, schools are now required to disclose all of their costs on their website. That's a new rule, right? Like, they weren't doing that before. So yes, they're required not to disclose all costs. One, on their website, a lot of times on the financial aid portion of their website, they'll have a breakdown. And what they'll have a breakdown of is self-help and gift aid versus, loans, grants, scholarships, things like that. Right? So that's the first place to start. And they'll have percentage breakdowns. And again, the College Board website has a lot of great resources as well. Katie, I'm just going to ask you, I know East Coast, we have this system called Naviance. Do you guys have Naviance or something similar to Naviance? Are you sure you're familiar with what I'm saying? Schoolies? School Links. Do you know if it's School Links has any of that on there? Some. Okay, so I know Naviance had some of this information. I would say the best source is usually the school website though. But I know, again, Naviance did have its school website, College Board, some places you could find that information. Okay. So, important dates to remember, and you can use this for whenever your son or daughter is going to school, but it's just to give you guys an idea how FAFSA looks at things. So, college begins fall of 2024. What are important dates to know? College admissions application starts fall/winter of 2023. Usually it's fall, usually it's October 1st. This year with all the changes, they didn't open up the FAFSA until January, which was a disaster because when they did open it, it kept crashing. But we do expect that the FAFSA will open, moving forward again, October 1st again. And I say expect because we don't know what the federal government's going to do with the FAFSA application. CSS profile became available October 1st. It's continued to become available October 1st. FAFSA early December 2023, that's this year in particular, but again, expect it to be available October as well. Tax year figures used. So this is a big one. I mentioned about the assets. That is date of application. If somehow $300,000 disappears from your bank account 2 days before the application, technically it's not assessable. Now I'm going to repeat because I'm being recorded. Legally, morally, and ethically, right? One example of legally, morally, and ethically is if you're going to do home repairs, right? Do the home repairs before, filling out the FAFSA. Why? Pay the contractor, do the repairs. Yes, it might increase the equity, but it did take it away, so you got to kind of weigh the pros and cons. So again, legally, morally, and ethically, shelter the money. So the tax figures, though, your income taxes will be prior year. Another reason to start mapping it out today. Right? The income that's being used for children going fall of 2024 to school is your tax returns from 2022. Okay, so it's looking back 2 years because the way when you're filing for the FAFSA in 2023, you still haven't filed your tax returns for 2023 until 2024. So looking 2 years back for tax returns for income. And then assets, date of application. One big thing I tell parents every year, we've talked about college being a business. College also run out of money, first come, first serve. So apply October 1st if you can, right? Be one of the first ones to apply. Get access or get availability to the money as quickly as possible, because it will run out. Okay. So we're almost done. We're getting towards the end. Some of you may say, we've been talking a lot about FAFSA and financial aid. Some of you may say, well, what if I make too much money to qualify for financial aid, right? Well, let's look at using your own money, right? First off, community college is an option. At the end of the day, I tell every parent, and I tell every child, if you go to community college for 2 years and then graduate from University of Washington, when you apply and you have your job resume, do you think you get an asterisk on your diploma saying you did community college first? No, right? So if your son or daughter is not sure, we talked about the 4-year track, if they're not sure what they want to do, maybe community college is a good fit for them, all right? Tuition reciprocity, definitely becoming more common. Unfortunately, I don't know too many of the schools on the West Coast off the top of my head, but it actually all started on the West Coast, or it was more prominent on the West Coast than the East Coast. What this is that schools are offering in-state tuition for out-of-state students, right? So they're becoming, Katie, you know any schools off the top of your head for tuition reciprocity? So there's 116, Katie said, in the western, kind of the West Coast or western side of the United States that fall under tuition reciprocity. So potentially your son or daughter may want to go to a school out of state, and he or she can get in-state tuition prices, or they can get in-state tuition prices for certain schools, even though you're going from Washington to California, potentially. Okay. So look into it. It might be a good fit for your son or daughter to travel and have the opportunity to pay affordable prices. Before I start, does anyone feel like they pay too much money in taxes? Yeah. Anyone like the game of Monopoly? Yeah, me too. So I love this video. I love this video when it has volume. I love the screen when it works. Let's see what happened here. There it goes.
Oh my gosh. Where's all your money going, honey? Taxes. 9, 10, 11. Let me fix your houses. It's okay. It's part of the game. No, it's not fun. It's not fun to what? It's the worst part of the game. It's what? Taxes.
I'll tell you guys, in my family, Monopoly is a exciting game because even as adults, someone leaves crying every time. Someone leaves crying in Monopoly, right? We are very competitive when it comes to Monopoly. But little Donnie kept falling out of the tax bracket right over there near Broadway. It hurts, I know it very well, right? And he hated paying it, right? So let's make Uncle Sam our friend. We'll talk a little bit about that, and let's start maximizing the efficiency of our money. So the first one is, what role do taxes play on our investments? Right? Are you aware of how taxes are impacting your finances? Right? Your investment accounts, your 401ks get tax deferrals. Regular investment accounts, how are you being taxed? What's the tax exposure you have in those accounts? Are you carrying a lot of non-deductible debt? Right? Credit card debts, bad debts, right? Non-deductible. Mortgage interest, deductible, right? Can you increase your cash flow? Now this is like where I always worry someone's going to throw something to me. No, I'm not telling you to work harder or work more hours, but what if we could be smart with your cash flow? Just anyone could shout it out. Anyone know their deductible on their car insurance off the top of their head? $500. Most common answer I hear. Now, us Jersey drivers have been known to bump into things a little bit. On the way in, let's just assume I bumped into someone's car. Little scratch, nothing too bad. I didn't, I promise. But you go, you see a scratch on your car, and you take it to the auto shop tomorrow, and they say, hey, it's going to be $625 to fix it. For those of you that have a $500 deductible, are you going to put it through your insurance? Nope. Why not? Rates will go up. Right, so why do you have a $500 deductible then? Right, what if we increase it to $750? What if you increase it to $1,000? $1,500, $2,000? I don't know. I'm not telling you guys what to increase it to. I'm not even saying you have to increase it from $500. But if you're not going to put in that claim at $500, what is your risk tolerance? This was new. When I heard this, I was like, that's so, of course, I would never put it in for $500. I'd increase mine immediately to $1,500. Fortunately, I didn't get in an accident 2 weeks later. That was my biggest fear, that I'd increase it, and immediately after I'd get a problem. So again, that might save a couple $100s in cash flow. Okay. Hiring your kids into the family business, right? For those of you that own business owners, we work with a family out in New Jersey. The mom does Uber on the weekends, and she hired both kids. They're both in high school. Daughter, she's in charge of tracking all the mileage, everything like that for the tax returns, right? And the son, he's in car washing the car, vacuuming, all that stuff, making sure the car looks good for the weekends. Now they pay the kids, and I use air quotes, they pay the kids. They get a tax deduction for the business. The money's now taxed to a lower tax bracket, not the kids' tax bracket, potentially not even taxed with how little they're paying, right? They're paying them a couple $1,000s a year. Now what are they doing with that money? They're taking it and putting it into a 529 account that grows tax deferred and gets to be used tax-free for college, right? We just made sure that money was used very efficiently from a tax perspective, all right? Last one, what if we can delay paying for college for another 4 years? No, I don't mean that we're going to tell the college, hey, we're not paying you for 4 years. No, they're not going to accept that. You're going to get kicked out real quick, right? But what if we could borrow for college? Take advantage of interest rate arbitrage, like we call it, right? Borrow at a low interest rate. Maybe your money can grow somewhere else at a higher interest rate. Right? For those people that borrowed on their mortgages at 2-3%, high yield savings are paying like 4.5-5% right now. Does it make sense to pay back that loan right away? Or does it make sense if you have the money to keep it in your high yield savings? Just an example, right? Not saying it's the right fit, but just an example of delaying paying for college. So I'm going to ask everyone, we're almost done, we're coming to an end here. I'm going to ask everyone to stand up. It'll be fun with a big group. I'm going to ask you all to stand up, stretch your legs. When you guys think this is a bad investment and you do not want to take advantage or invest in this vehicle, I'm going to ask you to sit down. We're going to see who the last man standing is, or woman standing. Okay. So, first characteristic of this account, all deposits in the account are not safe from the loss of principal. In essence, if you put money into it, you could lose money into it. Okay, everyone's still okay with it? Yeah, very common, right? Investment accounts, you can lose money inside of them. The customer may pay more than the monthly minimum, but not less. If the customer attempts to pay less, the financial institution keeps all previous contributions. So I'll read that one more time. You can pay more than the minimum amount, but if you pay less, the financial institution can keep all of your previous deposits, contributions. If you don't like this account or this vehicle, sit down. Cool. I got a lot of people still standing, a couple sitting down. If the customer misses a monthly payment, it negatively impacts your credit score. All right, everyone's still all right with this? Each contribution made to the account is not liquid and results in less safety and an increased tax liability. So every time you pay into it, you get less liquidity, and it results in less safety and an increased tax liability. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. I'll give it a second, just see if anyone changes their mind that's still standing. We got about 3. The money in the account earns a 0% rate of return. Yeah. Anyone know what type of account this is? I heard college tuition. No, not college tuition. What was that? Nope, not a retirement account. It's your mortgage. Right? It's your mortgage. I'm not telling you guys to not pay into your mortgage, right, or not have a mortgage, but think about it. The more money you pay into your mortgage, the less interest you pay. It means your tax liability goes, your tax liability goes up. You get less tax deductions. The money's less liquid as you pay into it. Yes, it goes towards the equity in your home, but we talked about the issues you can face when trying to get equity out. Right? Technically, the interest in the money in that house, it doesn't have a rate of return. It has an appreciation value, which we'll talk about, right? But it doesn't have a rate of return. Hopefully, your house is appreciating in value. Right? Why do I bring this up? It's not, again, not to tell you guys to not have a mortgage, right? It's a good debt. It's necessary a lot of times to be able to buy a house. Most people can't afford a house cash, especially with housing prices where they're going. At least in the East Coast, I'm assuming here in Washington, they've gone up tremendously over the past couple of years as well. But why do I bring that up? If you were fortunate enough to refinance your house or take out a mortgage in the past 2 years, and you have a 3% interest rate on your home, and you're paying extra money into it, think twice about it. Why are you paying the bank back quicker? Believe me, you are the bank's best friend if you have a 3% interest rate and you are paying extra into your monthly mortgage. Because mortgage rates right now are probably in the 6s and 7s. They're taking that money and they're lending it back out. What is your lost opportunity cost? What can you be doing with that money to potentially get a higher rate of return or use it somewhere else? Right? What was that? You could potentially invest, absolutely. And again, high yield savings, we're paying 5%. Again, just telling you to think twice about it. I'm not saying it's not the right fit at times to pay more into the mortgage, but think twice. Think about the example I gave in the beginning about that gentleman in 2008. All right? Cash flow and liquidity are key when paying for college. Two big things, cash flow, liquidity. All right? So, again, your rate of appreciation in a home, typically 3 to 7%. Rate of return, though, is technically 0. You don't have a rate of return until you sell that house. Right? Inside the equity, it's not really a rate of return. Mortgages, tax-deductible interest, may be a better source than private college student loans, like I was saying before, because that interest is deductible. Maximum deduction now is about $750,000. Can be used to increase cash flow. Right now, we're not seeing that as much, but when we saw people in the 5s, 6s, and those rates drops to those 2s and 3s, refinancing made sense a lot of times to increase cash flow. Exploring 30-year mortgages versus 15 years may make sense. Not always, but may make sense at times. And remember, HELOCs, home equity line of credits, are no longer tax deductible unless you're using it for improvements on the house. So, just finally, again, I said it before, make Uncle Sam your friend, right? He's coming, he's literally right around the corner. If you haven't filed taxes yet, he's coming in next month. How do we make him a partner, right? Take advantage of tax-efficient vehicles, right? Here's some above, right? Section 529 plans, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, which grow tax-free and can be used tax-free with the withdrawals. Backdoor Roth strategies are an option. Municipal bonds, right? If you're familiar with municipal bonds, they have tax-free benefits to it. The cash value inside of the life insurance has the ability to be a non-assessable asset. Some of these vehicles have guaranteed safety, tax-free growth or withdrawals potentially, and then a tax-free death benefit, God forbid you do pass away. So, if you thought you were drinking out of a fire hose before, I'm sure now you really feel it, right? The good thing is you're not alone. There's a ton of resources on the College Funding Coach website. We do offer those free consultations, like I said. And what do, right? As financial planners, we're going to offer comprehensive financial planning if you choose to work with us. Right? Again, there's no strings attached on that consultation, but if you'd like, we'll talk about what it looks like to work with our team. And we focus on college funding strategies while taking everything else into consideration. Because we're not here to just plan for college and throw a wrecking ball through the rest of your financial world. Right? It's easy. Hey, stop saving towards everything else, just pay for college. Right? But what happens to your retirement? What happens to saving? What happens to everything else? Right? We're going to take all that into consideration. Help your child attend a more prestigious, less crowded school, maybe a private school, for the same or less out-of-pocket cost than public. It's not to speak badly about public schools, but at Rutgers, I see it all the time. Rutgers is $40,000 a year. And I see children and parents saying, no, you can't apply to that $80,000 school. You're going to have to go to Rutgers or a state school. And if they would have just applied to a school like Amherst College, for example, in Massachusetts, they would have paid less for Amherst College than Rutgers. I'm not talking poorly about Rutgers. I grew up right next to Rutgers. It's a phenomenal school. But Amherst College is also a very prestigious school. There's a lot of great schools out there that your son or daughter may be able to go to. If you guys walked in and didn't get a chance to sign in, typically I have one of my partners here, one of my colleagues, and he's checking you in virtually. So what happens is, if you can sign, make sure your name's on there tonight, or on my red-eye flight home to New Jersey tomorrow. I will be checking you guys in and making sure you guys get put on the email to get access to our mini vault. You do have to make sure to just fill out the survey. What I'll say is, if you could do the QR code, it's a lot easier. You'll automatically get put into that. Even if you put no for the free consultation, you will get access to everything. And I do promise you guys, if you put no for the free consultation, we're not going to reach out and hassle you about the free consultation. But just fill it out, put yes or no. If it's yes, there's a lot of you here, so give me a couple days till I get back. My team and I will reach out to you to schedule some time. We'll reach out at 9 a.m. Eastern time, so everyone has to be up at 6 a.m. to make sure to get our phone calls. And that's the time we make our calls. No, I'm just kidding. So we'll make sure to reach out to you guys at a reasonable time, and we'll schedule consultations accordingly. make sure we're flexible for you guys. We went through that. Those are just some of the things you'll get. Let me just get to the end results, right? Ultimately, we're going to look at the academics. We're not here to help coach your children academically, but we're going to take a look at what the academics look like. We're going to take a look at the family financials and the financial aid policies for the school, and hopefully get you more than just those $5 signs right there, right? Hopefully get you as much money as possible when it comes to college, right? And use your money most efficiently as possible. There are, if you guys want to scan the QR code, I saw a question over there, I'll come right over. Those are the QR codes. If it doesn't let you scan it from there, I think there should be one on the front page of your packet as well, but just try to use the ones on screen. I just want to make sure that those are the most recent ones. If you fill it out, put the information, it may ask you what school you're from. Just make sure it's the school, and if it asks who you want the consultation with, you can just put Chris Hernandez, that's my name, and myself or one of my team members will reach out. That's the end of the presentation. You could also call Bernie. She's our Bernadette's the best. She's awesome. She could also help you guys schedule the consultation and get in contact with me. So I want to thank Katie for having us. Thank you so much for having the College Funding Coach. Thank you all for attending tonight. I appreciate your patience, appreciate your time, and I'm here for any questions. If you guys have anything, I'll stick around for a little bit. Thank you.